It was 2008, and I remember I was training for 6 months non-stop on the circuit, the training circuit in Singapore. And I'd finished the training program for emotional intelligence, one of the largest companies in Singapore. And I got asked that same question that I always keep on getting asked after every single training program. And it really irritated me because I get it all the time. And it was, Dave, great program, but do you have this for kids? And at that moment, I was at the National University of Singapore, and I was thinking, I was like, oh my goodness, how many more times am I going to hear this same question? And I decided, you know what, I'm going to do something about it. And I remember going back home and researching on the internet, and I found a kids training program up in California in the States. And I decided I'm going to enroll into it. I'm going to find out, why is it that kids need to be trained this material, which is why the parents are asking me this all the time after I'd finished the program with them. And I remember, I found this program, I booked a place in it, booked my plane tickets, and 2 weeks later, I was sitting in California in this training institute, and this trainer was standing in front of me and about 20 other participants who were parents, who were teachers, who were educators, and they were teaching, this trainer was teaching these amazing techniques, these accelerated learning techniques to all of us in that room, in this the trainer. And I remember that thinking when I was sitting in that room and he had taught me the technique, and I started applying it on the workbook, I started crying. And I realized, I was like, man, Dave, imagine if you could have had all these strategies that you're learning right now back when you were in school. Can you imagine the kind of suffering and the kind of pain and frustration you would have been able to avoid? Because when I remember when I was in school, studying was like kryptonite to me. I just hated it, and I would be forced by my parents to sit down and to open that textbook, and whatever I would read would go into my mind, but it would just never stay there. I would go to bed and I wake up the next morning, it would all disappear. But this guy was standing in this room teaching me how I could remember and recall information not only quickly but anytime I wanted. And I was like, this is mind-blowing. Every kid should have this. And immediately I knew that I have to take this material, I got to bring it back, and I got to start teaching this to kids. Because at that moment in time, after going through the experience, I knew what those parents meant when they told me and they said, Dave, do you have this for kids? And I started Super Champs, the Academy of Champions, in 2010. And I started training kids, and we train kids from 8 years old right up to 18-year-olds. And after training these kids, parents would come up to me and they would say, Coach Dave, do you have anything for us? And I said, what do you mean? And they're like, do you have anything for us as parents that we can help guide our kids? Now that their motivation level is high, what can we do to keep it high? Because, they're only human, it's going to go down sometimes. And I said, wow, what a fantastic idea. And being a dad myself, I've got 2 kids. I've got a boy who's 14, I've got a girl who's 2. I said, what if I could come up with a parenting program that could help parents do exactly that? And we came up with a parenting training together with a 90-day coaching that helps parents guide their kids through the ups and downs of life. And then after the parenting training, parents came up to me and said, Coach Dave, thank you for training our kids. We can see an improvement in them. Thank you for training us. Your strategies, it's really opened my mind, and I know now what I need to do to lead my kids. But do you have anything for me? And I was like, what would you like to have? And they said, would you have anything to motivate me? And I asked them, what area would you like to be motivated in? They said, I've got these limiting beliefs. I've got these bad behaviors I'd like to change. I'd like to lose weight. I'd like to improve my relationships, not only with my kids, but with my spouse. I want to improve my relationships with the people around me, with the people I care for, the people I love in my office. I'd like to be able to make more money to improve my career prospects. And I remember this father came to me and he said, Coach Dave, before we signed up our son for your program, my wife and I decided that we're going to have a divorce. And when your 4-day program was over, our son came back home and he showed us his dream board. And he said one of his dreams, one of the wishes that he would like in life was to have dinner with mom and dad together on the dinner table again. And when we saw that, we knew that we had to work on our relationship. And now, after going through this 1-day parenting with you, I know exactly where I went wrong with my son. I know exactly where I went wrong with my wife, and what areas we need to work together to build our family as a unit, as a family unit. And it's when I hear stories like this, when a dad comes to me and says, "Thank you, Dave, because of what you've shared, our life is now going to improve and move in the right direction." I said, wow, why am I just leaving this for students, for parents, and for families? What about people who don't have a family? What about people who yearn for self-development? What about people who are suffering? Because we're all suffering in some ways. The people out there, we're suffering because we're not having the right love in our lives. We all yearn for relationship. We all yearn for connection. We all yearn for recognition. We all yearn to spend some time with someone. We yearn for companionship. Many of us suffer in that. We lack that. Many of us lack health. We lack good health. We eat, we stuff our faces with all kinds of foods, and our bodies slow down and they get sluggish, and we suffer, and we want to improve, but we just don't know how to break through. So many of us suffer in our jobs. So many of us suffer in our careers, where we hit this glass ceiling, and the older we get, we find that the younger people are overtaking us. They've got new tools, they've got next generation strategies that's helping them, but how come we don't have any access to it? And that's when we decided at Super Champs, we said, you know what? Why are we limiting ourselves just with students and just with parents? And that's why Super Champs Next Generation Learning was born, where we reached out to the best teachers, the best trainers all around the world to help bring their expert messages, their messages where they had spent years crafting in health, in wealth, in careers, in relationships, to our community of parents, to a community of people, to help them live more outstanding lives. And that's what we do in Super Champs. That's the purpose of Next Generation Learning in Super Champs, to help people be outstanding, to help you be outstanding.